Hey everyone, welcome back and happy Saturday. All right, guys. So this morning I took a shower and like a moron, Jason switched out our body soap and I got it all in my contacts and my eyes. And I'm like, okay, well, here we go. Here we go. I guess we're going to be all bright eyed and bushy tailed today, huh? I feel like I'm like Ramona right now. I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Anyways, we're back to talk about the Real Housewives of Miami because Todd, Alexia's, is it her ex now or not ex? I don't even know what he is to her anymore, but he's calling out producers, he's calling out the show, and he's also threatening legal. He's not the only one. Before we jump in, if you guys haven't already, go ahead, pop off in the comment section. If you guys are not subscribed, definitely get subscribed. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And also, thank you to everybody for joining us for Hot Messy Topics. Now, with that, let's jump right in. All right, guys. So before we jump in, you're always asking me about my skincare. I appreciate it. I think it's the best compliment, but I can't take all the credit. It is my Blue Mean Face Pro 2.0. So with the press of a button, I can change the settings right here, as you can see, but it uses little microcurrents. And as you can hear it, it sounds like a little massage, but the microcurrents lift, illuminate, rejuvenate your skin, take all the inflammation out. It's like the best. It's literally a gift. Truly, it's a gift. But normally, this guy can be pretty pricey unless you click on my description, well, and see the link, or also click on the link that's pinned in the comment section. Best part is if you don't love it and it doesn't reduce your double chin, well, they will give you all of your money back. Now, with that, that's a company I can get behind. Let's talk about this. Oi. Okay. So apparently, Todd, who is the ex-husband of Alexia, he posted a 10-minute Instagram video on August 15th. So just yesterday, alleging mistreatment by the Real Housewives of Miami producers, including slander, defamation, also on-screen manipulation. And he also said that he has plans to pursue legal actions. Let me just play the clip for you guys. It's a long one. Here we go. Oh, get ready for this.
The biggest mistake I've made in my adult life was agreeing to participate in the Real Housewives of Miami. Now, I was not one who really wanted to give up my privacy and become a reality star. That was never for me. And I certainly never enjoyed filming, and I'm sure that's obvious to anyone who ever watched the show. But the final straw, the breaking point, came when lies started being told, and Adriana went on TV and started making claims that I was struggling, that couldn't pay my rent, and I was having financial problems. And it was a real blow to me, and I couldn't believe people would make these kind of lies up. And I was very mad at her for lying on TV, and she knew it was a lie. And I was mad at Alexia for getting me involved in this mess. But I was the most mad at the producers who knew the story wasn't true. And they didn't just run it, they ran it and reran it and reran it with no regard for me or my feelings or the truth. And in fact, I was the one telling them after the story came out, and I knew that they filmed it, that I had just bought a $24 million shopping center. What was my financial problem? But they really didn't care. The show must go on. And they did. The show did go on. And it got to a breaking point where I couldn't take it anymore. And I had to make a very hard decision. I realized I couldn't live in this world anymore, and the woman I loved couldn't live without it. So I had to make a decision to leave. And it was a very tough decision, but it had to be made. I was well aware of the storyline they were creating for Series 7 about the reconciliation, and I agreed that I would go along with that. In return, I was under the impression I was getting some apologies from Adriana, and I was going to be let off the hook, so to speak, and not dragged like past husbands of these kinds of TV shows. So it seemed like a pretty fair deal to me, so I stayed quiet and let it air out. Now, not surprised at all that it didn't play out as I had expected. I see no apologies coming my way, nobody acknowledging the slander and defamation of character they did to me. I see actually the story getting worse, and they're making up stories about how I moved out of the house and left Frankie alone, which none of this is true. It's just for the storyline. And I've stayed quiet. For 18 months, I sat back and stayed quiet out of respect and love to Alexia. But at some point, you're pushing too far. And this is the point. Now, I could understand Alexia bashing me. And I could understand her coworkers doing the same. Even the one I've never met once in my life who seems to be obsessed with me. That's all fine. And I'm not surprised one bit that the producers are running this, because they need a storyline to sell you guys a show. But what did surprise me is that they used Peter to come at me and bash me and say that I don't give a shit about Frankie. Well, now you hit a nerve and now you have my attention and you're going to start getting some responses. That's where you went too far. Now, there is no doubt Alexia is an amazing mother and does everything for Frankie she can. And so does his father, by the way, who never seems to get any credit. This guy works 5 days a week to support himself and spends almost every weekend out with Frankie, taking him out and taking care of him, being a great dad. And he deserves recognition. However, beyond those two people, there's nobody on planet Earth that's done 1,000th of what I've done for Frankie in the last 7 years. In 7 years' time of living with Frankie, just about every morning we'd wake up together before everybody else and have a coffee and talk. Every afternoon I come home from work and I spend time with Frankie. I didn't just provide for Frankie financially by putting a roof over his head and putting food on his table and designer clothes on his back. I did do that, but I also did a lot more. And to say I didn't give a shit is ridiculous. Let's talk about it. Took him to the movies, took him to the beach, took him to the jacuzzi, took him to the pool, took him on cruises, took him on vacation for weekend getaways. 2, 3, 4 nights a week, Alexia and I would take him to dinner. We would go out on the weekends and we'd take him with us. I would spend so much time with Frankie. I was very involved with getting Frankie trainers for his health. I was very involved with getting Frankie into the Demoya Foundation. I was involved in getting him all sorts of speech therapists and anything I could do to make this guy's life better. I was all for it. And that's why it really hurts that someone's going to come at me and say that I didn't give a shit about him, because I'm going to tell you, there's not a person on planet Earth who's done as much for him other than his parents as me. And
let me just say really quick, this is a lot of information that's coming out that he's saying. And the way it's so effortless, you can tell the guy is not lying.
And that's how I love Frankie. And you know what? Because I love Frankie, I'm going to speak up, because Frankie would want me to, because he knows this isn't true. Now, I really have no problem with Peter. In fact, after Alexia and I split up, I reached out to Peter and I told him how bad I felt, how things went between us and the pressures that he and I had to deal with. And I told him how bad I felt that I was never able to help him launch a career and get started with a job and get his life on track. And I felt bad for all the pressure the guy had. And I made it very clear, that's my failure more than his. And I told him I would always be there for him, regardless of whether he wanted my help and regardless of my position with his mom. And I always stand by that, and I will always stand by that. But today I feel bad for Peter because the producers used him again. You see, they convinced him to go and tell the story for their ratings, and he knows better than anyone, when they got something on you, they put it up against you. Except what Peter probably doesn't know, and why he probably had to do this, is because thanks to me, I'm the one who convinced Alexia to negotiate a deal for Peter and Frankie to get paid. That's why they get paid. And that's why I probably believe Peter had to do it, for the paycheck. So I kind of understand that. I'm not mad at him all. And my offer to always be there for him will always stand. Peter shouldn't be calling me out on TV. Peter should be thanking those that are helping take care of Frankie, like me. That's the truth. Even after the divorce, I continued to support Alexia and Frankie, pay the rent. She used my Amex to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars a month. That's what I did. And in fact, the house they live in, where you live as well, Peter, I pay the rent on that house. Even after the show came out and I believe this was going to happen to me again, and I saw the first episode, I still continued to pay these bills. That's who I am, and that's what I did. And it doesn't seem fair that you're going to come for me now. You should be thanking me instead. With all that said, I still feel bad for him because the producers got the best of him, and he knows it, and I know it, and there's no hard feelings there. But you did change the storyline for me. Now I have to speak up. You see, there's been hundreds of podcasters and news media articles that wanted to write stories, and they wanted my side of the story, and I stayed quiet. But I can't sit back and let you create this narrative that I just didn't give a shit about Frankie. Not only do I love Frankie, I love myself too, and I'm not going to let you and the producers do this to me. So no hard feelings, but I'm going to have to start talking as well. And even as I sit here today, I'm still heartbroken about the fact that Alexia never told me this was going to happen to me and that she allowed this to happen. And worse yet, she and I actually did reconcile in January of this year after the show filmed, and we were together and doing great for months. And she never said a word about anything coming my way. And since then, I've never heard an I'm sorry, never got a text, nothing. It's just too bad, so sad. And while I'm never going to try and win over any viewers because I truthfully don't care about that, I do want to tell my side of the story, and I am going to go out there and do it so the viewers know I didn't leave Frankie home alone, and it wasn't this crazy situation where he was so distraught on the couch, and I'm not this horrible person they make me out to be. But at the end of the day, I have to stand up for myself. And what we'll do is I'll tell my side of the story, and Bravo can tell their side of the story, and you, the viewers, will get to judge what you believe and what you don't believe. Like I said, I'm not trying to win anybody over, but I am trying to tell a side of the story. You'll get to be the judge and jury. Now, For the producers, there's a totally different story I have for you guys. These producers, they like to sit in their editing rooms and production rooms and hide behind the cameras, and they'll drag anybody. And all you got to do is look at the past husbands and boyfriends of this show. They have no regard for anyone, as if we don't have families, friends, lives, careers. It just doesn't matter as long as they're making a show. And they hide in private, and they could care less about the truth. They just want to make a show. And if you confront them, they say, you got a bad edit, I'm sorry. Well, that's not going to cut it anymore, because these producers know the secrets are coming out, that you have people on these shows hiring private investigators to dig up dirt on other castmates, to ruin them. They're hiring PR companies and social media bot accounts to hurt people with no regard for them whatsoever. These people have script writers to give them, witty one-liners so they seem so good and they could turn the direction of themselves and make themselves look fantastic. And you know about this, and you guys hide in the private room and you don't get exposed. Well, that's going to change, because all these things you've been doing to the cast, how are you going to like it if I expose you? How are you going to like it if these things are done to you and I draw you out into the public? How is it going to feel when you're getting questioned by the public on the way you behave? Let's see. But the difference is for you guys, and the difference is for people like Adriana, who slandered my name and who made up all these lies and thought it was fun and clever, and the producers who thought they could edit it and rerun it and rerun it and rerun it and keep showing it and keep talking about it and there'd be no consequences. And for the producers who really didn't even have a right to have me on TV for season 6, you're going to have a different crowd that I want to perform for, so to speak. You're going to have a courtroom to perform in, and you're not going to have to convince the public. You're going to have to convince a real judge and a real jury if you had the right to use me on TV and lie about me on TV when you knew it was a lie. Let's see where we go with this, because for all the people you dragged with no regard for them whatsoever, past and present people on the show, I'm the guy with the reputation. I'm the guy with the resume in life. And I know you've been digging up as much dirt as you can. Doesn't seem like you found so much, but I'm also the guy with the resources to take you guys down. So you found this game very clever. You wanted to get the ratings and you wanted to get your season launched. So good for you, you did. Except now I'm going to speak up and I'm going to take your asses to court, and we'll find out if you had a legal right to do it. And you know what? You said it. You replayed it. Now you better prove it. And if you can't prove it, you're going to pay me. And I think I'm going to take all that money I'm going to win, and I'm going to win a lot of money. And when I do, I'm going to give it to groups that work with people that are bullied, cyberbullied, bullied in person, attacked online by people like you who hide in these rooms and destroy lives, destroy families. You're not good people. And just face it, I sit here and say that. For the viewers, you could question me, but over the, 15 years of the show, you call it a guilty pleasure to watch it, but would you ever participate in it? Would a sane person ever expose their lives? For what? To go to BravoCon and have people tell you they love you? Bullshit. You wouldn't do it either. And the past performance of this show, look at where these families have wound up in. Tons of divorces, people in jail, miserable lives. I mean, it's just created no happiness and no joy for Earth other than a guilty pleasure. So you could enjoy watching it. But for the participants, I think you got to get your heads checked. And for the producers who produce it and hide in the rooms, I'm coming for you.
Oi. Okay. I mean, shit. I believe him. I believe him. I want to hear what you guys think, guys. Pop off in the comment section. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Definitely let us know. And don't forget to check out our blue meme. But oh shit, Todd's not playing around. Here we go. And Jason, don't change my fucking shampoo and my body wash. Oi. Love you guys.